A one skillet meal should have all the encompassing things we want to really feel hearty and filling. This is gonna have all those things. It's gonna have beans, it's gonna have corn, it's going to have meat, and you know what it is? It is a Southwestern take on a shepherd's pie. Completely deconstructed, and it's my version, but it's so delicious, full of flavor, full of great notes, and it's topped with some sweet potatoes. What could be better? So to start, what we're gonna do is chop up some onion here. Now what I did was, I just kind of deconstructed the idea of a shepherd's pie, which is usually generally some type of ground lamb or beef, and then it's mixed with peas and other vegetables, and then on top of it is mashed potatoes, which is delicious, it's filling, it's hearty, but sometimes I want something that's a little bit quicker, and maybe just has a different flavor profile, has something maybe a little bit more fresh, a little bit components that you kind of just wanna wake you up and you say, yeah, that's good. So that's what this is, and we're gonna start by getting some onion in some oil that I have on the stove. So all this is gonna be made in my cast iron skillet. You could do any skillet, it doesn't have to be a cast iron one, but you just want a skillet that's gonna be big enough to encompass this whole pie-like meal. The thing is, when you do a meal that can all be done in a skillet, it kind of just makes it go easier. You get things going, and they're gonna be a lot easier for you because you can do this on a weeknight. You can make it without feeling like you're being overburdened. So while that onion is cooking, I'm gonna add in some ground beef. Now, I like to use a good ground beef. That means a grass-fed ground beef, so it has all your omegas in it, all the omega fats you need. It has a lot of health benefits to it. And then to that, I'm gonna just be breaking it up with the onion so it can cook together. And I wanna add in some salt. So we're gonna add in some salt. And yes, salt is important at every layer and every stage of cooking, because if we salt our food well in the beginning, we add less salt in the end. So I'm gonna just kind of break this meat up as it's cooking with the onion. We're gonna let it brown. We're gonna add all the other components. It smells good already. You can see pretty quickly that the meat really browns, and you do get some of the liquid from the beef, but I get a 15%, 85% lean beef, so it's not too much, and I like to keep that in there because that's flavor. Fat is flavor. You don't want too much of it, but you want some to give you the flavor. So now we really want to work on our spices and really get them right into any of that oil and grease that's there to really bloom them. So I'm gonna start with some chipotle powder. Chipotle powder, to me, you know, you can't go wrong with it. It's gonna have the spice a little bit, but it's also gonna have that smokiness that you really want. So instantly I'm hit with the chipotle, but then I'm gonna add some chili powder. So we're making kind of a interesting version of a taco seasoning, think of it as. We're gonna add some chili powder, and then we're gonna add some cumin. So that's gonna give you that warm, kind of earthy note that, is just so good. And I'm gonna stir that in, and I want those spices to really get hit with that oil. I want them to bloom in that, which if you were here, let me tell you, you would smell them because this smells so good. And you can see it even starting to pick up that taco meat color. You're getting those wonderful kind of burnt orange colors with some reddish hints. So while that's working in there, I'm gonna add in some fire roasted tomatoes. I'm using fire roasted because guess what? They have a ton of flavor. They're literally fire roasted. You can see the color on the char on them. And what that's gonna do is mix with it, and it's just gonna enhance the flavor. It's such an easy thing to have in your pantry, a can of fire roasted tomatoes, and instantly you can tell there's gonna be a lot more flavor to it. So I have those in there. We're gonna let that cook just a couple minutes, and we're gonna move on. I let the tomatoes cook just for a little bit. It kind of cooks some of the excess juice off, but also you want it to be a little soupy or juicy because that's gonna give you that good undertone to the potatoes and everything else. So we have it started. It smells delicious, but we're gonna add some good heartiness to it to make this really a meal. We're gonna add kidney beans. Now, I don't use flavored ones. You could do a chili style, but we're doing the flavor in there already. So the beans are gonna add the protein, they're gonna add more heft, and then we're gonna do some corn. Just frozen corn. Now, I home freeze my corn, but of course, you can use any corn you love. And the thing is, what the corn's gonna do is add that sweetness. It's gonna add more starch to it too. It really, look at this bulking up to make it look like a meal. So I'm stirring it together, and I love how beautiful it is. To me, food should be beautiful. You want all these colors, you want everything going, and look instantly how you just kind of have the base to what you want. Look at that, it just looks good. So I'm gonna kind of just even that out. Nothing perfect, it's rustic. We're doing it in a skillet, that's the point. So now on top, we have sweet potatoes. Now I've just been chopping them up kind of thinly. I'm gonna say it's about 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch because we want them to cook fairly quickly. What we're really gonna do is pretty much have roasted sweet potatoes on top, but we're gonna add some flavor. I'm gonna kind of shingle them too as I'm going. I'm gonna start on the edge and just roughly kind of, you don't have to overlap them too much, but you can see what I'm doing. So traditionally, a shepherd's pie like this would have mashed potatoes. And so you'd have to cook potatoes, mashed potatoes. I didn't want to do that. But what I wanted was a potato topping. And so the sweet potato adds that sweetness, but sweet potatoes have this great effect of being able to just, they can meld with whatever you're having. They can take on flavors that work well with them. So I'm gonna continually layer these on top of each other until I get to the middle. We're gonna finish them up a little bit and we'll pop this in the oven. You can see that this is really coming together pretty quickly. So what I'm gonna do though, because if you roast a sweet potato dry, or any potato, it's gonna get kind of dry and crusty, but not really have the flavor and the look you want. So we're gonna take a little bit of oil. Now I'm using just a neutral oil, which could be a grapeseed. It could be, anything that doesn't have a lot of flavor to it, and you want it to have a higher smoke point. So I'm gonna put it on there. It could be even a vegetable oil if that's what you have. And see, I'm just drizzling it so they get well coated in it. And then when they roast, they're really gonna take that on. So then I'm gonna sprinkle it with salt, a little bit of salt. Salt is so important. I think it's more important than we realize. It brings flavor, and it is so essential to making food taste good. And if you cook at home, it is really hard to get too much salt because we use so much less salt at home than we do if we eat out or in processed foods. And then to finish it off, a little bit more of that chipotle powder. Now, chipotle does have a little bit of spice. So if you're worried about the spice, you could use a smoked paprika. I think chipotle though, you need that flavor and you want that to be on there. And I like the color it gives. So look how instantly, oh, these look beautiful. Oh, they look so good. And they smell good. I'm gonna pop this in the oven. We're gonna let the sweet potatoes roast. Everything else will get really warmed, hot, just like we want it and bubbling. Then we'll eat. That's the best part. I brought it out of the oven. Look how beautiful it is. Like they just roast perfectly on top. Everything gets warmed through and hot. Now you can do whatever you want with this and garnish if you want. You can put some cilantro on it. You can put scallion, whatever you want. That's the best part. This is a make it your own meal and all done in the skillet. So then you can just serve it up and think about it. It's all ready to go. You have all these components. You have that delicious, look at that goodness underneath. That's exactly what you want. You want some of the meat, you want some corn, and it kind of just comes together, I don't know, in beautiful colors and a whole meal. So I'm gonna put a little bit more cilantro on top because I love it. If you think it tastes like soap, which some people do, don't use it. Then I always like avocado with it. For one, avocado adds that good healthy fat right at the end. It's delicious, it has that creaminess. Why wouldn't you want that? And you can just try it. I love it. You know why I love it? It encompasses all those things that we kind of are nostalgic of and love. And it has those goulash aspects, if you know what goulash is. Shepherd's pie, casseroles, all those things, but then it has an update on the flavors that make them really fun, interesting, flavorful. Those Southwest flavors that we love with the chipotle, that smokiness, the cumin, all those things. I didn't even get sweet potato. Who are we kidding? Sweet potato is one of my favorite things. I need some. But the sweet potato then is gonna give it, let me check to make sure. Okay, the sweet potato then gives it that sweetness. So it rounds everything out and really balances all the flavors. It's delicious. The freshness of some avocado and cilantro on top, finish it off kind of perfectly. This is a meal in one, and I think it's a home run that you're gonna love. So what do I hope you do with this? I hope you share the video around. When you share these videos, it helps me, it helps other people find me, but it helps people see good food at home is easy and doable to make. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe and all my other recipes. They're all on there. Until next time, make some good food and enjoy it. That's what we all need.